Hey, what's going on everyone? This is BekBrace channel. My name is Amir. In this video tutorial, I'm going to walk you through a Go web server that serves multiple pages using HTML templates. This tutorial is going to demonstrate on how to handle various routes, serve static files, and dynamically render HTML content. And if you're watching me for the first time, thank you so much for tuning in. Please consider subscribing, like the video at the end of it if you liked it, and I would appreciate it if you share this video with your friends. This actually boosts the YouTube algorithms to help the channel grow bigger. And to install Go on your computer, go ahead and visit this website, go.dev/doc/install, and you'll find here this button, download. That's the latest version, Go 1.23.2, or at least that's the stable release. And that's going to be a Microsoft installer, an MSI file. You're going to install Go and you will hit next. And to verify that Go is properly installed on your computer, open your terminal and type Go version. You should see the Go version installed on your machine. I have here Go 1.22.3. The latest version is 1.23.2. Really doesn't matter. Everything is going to work just fine. But yeah, you can take advantage of that and download the latest version. Maybe there are some updates, but really doesn't matter. It won't affect our tutorial today at least. Alright, so you can also check out the documentation, the articles temp 3 on Wiki, that's on how to write web applications. If you will click on introducing the net HTTP package, yeah, I'm going to explain everything in details, or we're going to build our portfolio website. By the way, that's not going to be only a web server or a page. We're going to create a simple portfolio website where we're going to navigate through different pages, and that's essentially going to show you how to handle different routes to different pages using Go. We're not going to use any third-party library or anything. It's just different packages provided by us or built in Go. So yeah, that's going to be fairly simple. All right, so enough me yapping. Let me just open my, that's my terminal here. And I'm going to go to my folder and I'm going to create a directory, and I'm going to call it portfolio website, for instance. Awesome. I'm going to open that with Visual Studio Code. Now, the first thing you want to do in your folder is to create a Go file. So that's going to be called main.go. That's the extension, right? And the first thing you need to do in any Go program usually is to get your package. That's the main package. And that's a simple declaration for the main package. That's essential for your main function, which is going to be your entry point to your program or application or whatever. And let me just snooze the tab 9 for an hour. All right. Speaking of that main entry, which is the main function, let's go ahead and create it. So func main, func of course is the keyword to create a function in Go. And we're going to open curly braces. First, let me just import various packages. Some of those packages or libraries are built in the language, and some of them you will need to install because they are third-party libraries. Here we're going only to use the built-in libraries. So to import multiple libraries at a time, you can just type the keyword import and following that different packages. The first one is the format package, which is very important. That's just for the formatted IO, just to print stuff on the console and so on. Also, I want HTML/template. This library right here, or package, call it whatever you want, really doesn't matter. This package here is used to render HTML templates. And that's crucial in our tutorial today because this is essential to render the templates and check them out on the browser. Also, I need the log package. The log package is used for logging errors. And finally, the net HTTP, and that's the one that it's presented here in the website. The main functions here that we can call and so on. All right, back to our code. So that's the net/HTTP. That's going to be used for HTTP server and client. The net HTTP package is very important because that's going to allow us to send HTTP requests to the server and receive HTTP responses as client. Now, the first thing that I want to show you is how to handle the request to the root URL or the home page. So to do that, you're going simply to take the HTTP package and you're going to access a method called handle func. Now you will need a function to handle accessing that route, right? Let's say that we want to go to an empty route, which is going to be your homepage, essentially on /. And for us to be able to route to that homepage, we will need a function to be triggered. And that's going to be the second parameter. And you can see here that it says in the main parameters, this is a handler func, and it takes HTTP response writer and whatever the HTTP request that you're going to send. So here I'm going to call that home. That's going to be a function called home. And notice that all of the packages that we have imported have disappeared once you do Control S, because Go is smart enough to import directly any package that you're going to use. Immediately it's going to be inserted in the import. I've just written them ahead in order to explain to you each one and what it does. Okay, so I'm going to be in the global scope and not in the main function. That's the public scope, but we need to be in the global scope. Then I want to create that function, that home function, right? This home function is going to handle the requests to the home page. So remember when I showed you here, maybe you can do like that. So that's the handler function in blue. That's what we're going to be writing. We'll need two main parameters, the response writer and the request. Okay, so let's create that one. I'm gonna call it home. W stands for writing, so that's going to allow us to write back a response to the client. HTTP.response writer. So that's as far as the response, but also we want R, and that represents the incoming HTTP request from the client. So we'll need an asterisk HTTP.request. And that's it. That's going to be exactly the same thing for all of the other functions that are going to be used to route us to different pages on our website. Awesome. Now we can open curly braces and we can use render template function. And we can do here W, which stands for write, and we want to write home.html. We don't have that home.html yet, but we will need to create a folder. I'm gonna call it templates. And inside templates, we will need to have different pages. So the first one is home.html. Let's also have about.html. Let's have contact. Let's also have skills. And finally, we can have projects.html. So when I wrote here render template write home.html, simply that's going to render the home.html template to the browser. And by invoking that function here, by passing it as one of the parameters of the handle func function, that's going to be simply triggered in the main function. As we said, this is our main entry point. This is very important. So home here is going to be invoked on an empty route and is going to call that function to render the template. But I hear someone is saying, hey, this render template, there is this squiggly ugly line, which means that we don't have it and it's not a method in Go. That's absolutely right. We will need to write this render template function ourselves. So that's going to be our render template function. And that's going to take also W, which means writing, HTTP.response writer. So that's going to write the response received from the server. The second parameter is the template, right? That's going to be a string, and we will need to parse that specified template file. Let's have T, which stands for template, and also error. This simply means if you're not a Go programmer and that's first time for you, simply here I'm declaring and initializing both variables on the same line. So this means declaration and initialization at the same time. This is a shorthand that Go provides us to initialize and declare on the same line. Then take a look, that T here is equal to the template, and I'm going to access a method called parse files. Now parse files is going to parse that specified template file, as we said. And where this template lives, of course, in the templates folder that we have created. So inside parentheses and double quotes, templates folder followed by a / to the render template function that we're creating. So that's going to be temple as input. So if I can add a comment here, I would say that's for parsing the specified template file being passed as input, home, projects, etc. And notice that template is not defined because template basically is a package that we need to import. But once I do Control S, take a look, it has disappeared, this red line, and Go has imported it as the HTML template that we've talked about, or we have actually imported it at the beginning of the tutorial. But once you do Control S, if the package is not used throughout the program, it's going to be deleted or hidden. And once you use it, it imports it automatically. So we have here our T, which is the template, and we know what is that now. Next, we need to check for any errors during the template parsing. So I'm going to check out if error is not equal to nil. In other words, if there is an error. Nil here means false or empty. So in this case, if you would say if error is not empty, which means that if effectively there is an error. So if error is not equal to nil, I'm going to send an error response. To do that, again, http.a method called error, passing inside W for writing. And you can read here, it says error replies to the request with the specified error message in HTTP code. So W as a first argument, so our variable is err.error. Then I'm going to send that response, that error response. So to do that, again, you will take the HTTP. You see the HTTP package is everywhere. Everywhere we send messages, requests, receiving responses, HTTP should exist. And that's quite logical. So HTTP an attribute called status internal server error. That's the one. Otherwise, which means that if we don't have any errors, we're going to execute the template and we'll write it to the response writer. So t.execute, first argument is W to write. So that's input output writer. And the second parameter is data, which is going to be left as nil. And there you go. This is our render template method. Now for the home page, I've written just simple HTML code. This is a boilerplate with the head tag and the body tag, with a header, with different navigation bar elements. You have a home, project, skills, about, contact. Then I have a main with a section, h2 about me, and a little bit about myself. And I finished it off by footer, so nothing complicated here. All right, so let's get back to our main function. We have so far only one function, one request handler to handle the request of the root URL. So this is a route handler for homepage or root URL, right? And we can create different ones. So if you want, for instance, we can have 4 more, right? Because we have about, contact, projects, and skills. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And simply you can change the route. So you have here projects, and that's going to be projects here, right? And that's going, let me just modify all of that quickly. So here's projects. And here instead of home, we're going to have skills. Or skills, right? Also the root URL, let's omit that. 1, 2, and boom. Okay. The about, and the final one is contact. Awesome. So far, so good. Now, let me show you how to start the server. The default port for our server is going to be 8080. So start the server on port 8080, and we will listen to incoming requests. So I'm going to take again the HTTP package, and the main method to start the server is called listen and serve. So listen and serve is the main method that's going to listen for the request and serve the website or serve the page. Awesome. So the first parameter we need to define that this is port 8080, and the second parameter is going to be nil. The second parameter is http.handler, and if you read, it tells you here that the handler is typically nil, and that's exactly what we have done. But that's not enough, because we can leave it like that, but I want to check out for any potential errors when we'll start the server. So we can do this in a smart way by declaring and initializing a variable called ERR, that's an error, and we're going to put some condition here. If error is not equal to nil, which means that if error is not false, in that case, I will log.fatal and log another package that we need to import by hitting Control S. So log.fatal, and that's going to be the error here. Do Control S, and you can find that it has imported it here. Right, that's going to log the error and exit if the server fails to start. And this is basically it, guys. Of course, for the projects, the skills, the about, and the contact, we will need to create different functions like we have done for the home func. So we'll need 4 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And let's change the names very quickly. So we want contact, we want about, we want projects, and finally we want skills. Awesome. And naturally we're going to, of course, call on those names. So contact, about, and that's basically everything, guys. Just don't forget to change the routes as well. So here we have so one for the home route. For projects we want 4 skills, here is about, and finally contact. Now, to run any Go application, there are 2 ways to do that. First, if you don't know, Go is a compiled language. So you need to create an executable and run the executable. But also you can run the file directly by doing go run and the name of the file. Hit enter, and don't worry, there is nothing wrong here. Our server is running now. So for user experience, let's go ahead and do that. So we can do simple printing to the console kind of code line here. So format.println, and I can say here server is running on http://localhost port 8080. Control S to save. Also, we can add here a rocket just for visual flair. Control S to save. Let's get back to our integrated terminal. Let's do go run main.go one more time. Hit enter, and you should see server is running on http localhost 8080. Now, don't panic if you see this. That's just the firewall protecting you for security reasons. Click on allow and everything should be fine. If you will go ahead and click here, you should see your page. Welcome to my portfolio. Now, if you will try to check out my work, because in home, check out my work should route you to the project's route. So if you will click here, nothing, it's empty. Okay, because we haven't actually created anything in projects. But if you will do like this, you will say my projects, get back here, refresh the page, click check out my work, you'll find my projects. Now the colors and everything, that's an error from the Brave browser, and I apologize for that. Because if you will take the localhost URL and you go, let's say for instance, Google Chrome, and you will paste here, you'll find that it doesn't have any styling, because I haven't shown you how to do styling yet. And if you will click on check out my work, again, you'll find my projects. But for skills, you're going to get an empty page. About and contact is going to be the same. So again, for projects, that's a simple HTML page. Similarly for skills, really nothing fancy, and you can really turn it to a proper portfolio website that you can use and showcase your project skills and everything. For the contact, I have here a simple form with the post method, of course. You're going to find the GitHub repo link in the description. Now, if you will save that and get back to our website, refresh, you click on about, you see everything is working perfectly. You didn't have to kill the server and run it again for the changes to be reflected. Now let me show you the last thing, which is how to render styles.css file. So the way to do that is very simple. We need to serve the static files from the static directory. So it's not only rendering CSS files, but also you can run JavaScript code and render images. So that's to serve static files from the static directory, which we need, by the way, to create. So that's the template. So in the root directory, go ahead and create another folder, static. And inside static, you can have different folders. So you can have CSS, you can have JavaScript, you also can have images. Okay, so let's create this file, styles.css. And if you will go to the templates to any page, really not only home, you will find that I've already linked it. So here it's called style.css. I need to change that to style as well. And that's also simple styling for the footer, for the buttons, for the form, the main, the navigation bar, the header, and the body. Again, you can check the code in the GitHub repo. But let's get back to our Go file. What I want to do is to use the HTTP package again, a method called handle. So the handle method here takes two different parameters, a pattern and handler. The pattern should be in the form of string. So the pattern simply is the name of our folder. So that's going to be static, like so, right? And the second parameter is the handler. That's the http.handler, if you will, to serve the styling file from the static directory. So that's going to be http.method called file server. Okay, the name is very clear on what it does. And we're going to pass to that file server method http.directory, and we need the directory again. That's the static directory. That's going to be static / like so. I can also pass all of that inside a method called strip prefix. And this method takes again two different parameters. The first one is the word that we want to strip from, which is static. And the second parameter is the HTTP handler. All right, and let's just terminate that with another parenthesis. And I will refresh, and there we go. Projects, skills, about, contact, and everything. And that basically wraps things up. Thank you so much for watching, for following along. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you in the next tutorial.